Let's understand one more feature in Photoshop called layer mask. You know how layers work. The layer on top is visible while the layer behind it will not be visible. So in this case, I have two layers. One is of a car and the other is of woods that I've placed one on top of each other. To remove any segment out of the layer, the easiest way to do it is to erase it. But in this case, erasing, in cases like these, erasing removes the pixels from the layers directly. That means these pixels are not reversible after you've saved it. So in this case, you can see how the gray checkerboard is visible. That means there are no pixels which are available over here. And in case we would want to return back to its original state later, that will not be possible. So this is where we use layer mask. Now to add layer mask, let me undo all of these things. Now to add a layer mask, there is a button right over here, or a rectangle with a small circle in the middle. If I click on this while selecting a layer, let's see what and how it works. So with this, you can see there is a small segment that has been attached to the layer itself, which is of similar dimensions and is entirely white. Now, the layer mask is basically a way of removing pixels or elements from the layer without actually removing them. So that's basically removing them from the opacity. So with this, you can correctly see the entire layer is white. Let's say if I paint this with a brush with a black color. Now when I do that, this works just like an eraser, but in this case, you can see that the image itself has not been edited. It's a layer mask which is on top of it which has been edited. That means I can at any point of time disable a layer mask and still have the layer entirely intact. So to understand this, let's do this one more time. I have a layer, I add a layer mask, and there comes a white layer right over here. Now with this white layer, if I paint on it, it turns out to be hiding or showcasing the element, hiding those particular pixels where I've painted over and showing the elements behind it. But black and white is not the only case. If we understand this correctly, if I had painted this on this black area with a white color, the pixels have now come back to their own original state. Let's get the entire thing back. So basically, a layer mask, when it's painted black, hides those certain pixels from the layer, or it particularly masks it, and when it's painted white, it shows it. And that's how a layer mask works. And let's see how the use case is. So with this, let's say I would want to show the woods behind this particular building over here. And with that, what I can do is click on the layer, select the layer mask. You can see a small frame right next to the layer mask. You can do this by selecting on or clicking on the layer mask. Don't forget to do this before you're painting or adding a brush, because you can end up doing the same thing on the layer as well, and that would damage your original layer. Something like this. So with that, you can see how the layer itself has been damaged. Let's undo that. And on this white layer, on the layer mask, if I start painting with a black color, it will start hiding those pixels and start revealing the pixels behind it. So with this, I have actually started showcasing the layer behind this particular building. Currently, it looks not great. Let's do that. Let's fix that by painting carefully. Now with this brush selected, I can reduce the size of the brush and edit this from here. You can see how my hands are not doing the best job at doing the painting with these small nicks coming in everywhere. And particularly in cases like this, where it's not easy to paint over the entire thing. I could do that by selecting a smaller brush and working on it, but then it's still a tedious job. Photoshop has a better way to do this. Let's undo the entire thing. Let me remove the layer mask. With this, we have the original layer back. We've already seen how to do a color selection. So let me go to select, color range, and do a selection for this particular area. Now with this, I can see the entire area that is in black, very similar to layer mask, is not going to be visible, and the area it is in white is going to be visible. So if I click on OK, I know that this area has been selected. It will create a small marching ants selection over here, right on the layer. With this area selected, if I hit on layer mask button over here, it directly ends up creating a layer mask from the selected region. Now I know that there are few things that have not been selected. Let me fix that. Now we can do that using the brush. With the brush, now with the white color that I would want to paint in this area so that the car is clearly visible. And that's what I'm doing over here. And with this, we can see that this area has been very clearly defined. Let me do the same thing over here as well. I do see something white over here. I'm not sure whether that is something that's pending from the previous version. So let me paint it with a black color just to make sure that there is nothing hidden. And that's it. That's basically how we can use a layer mask to hide or show layers behind without actually disturbing the entire layer. Now with this, the layer mask has been created and has been added as a separate entity. This might increase the file size if you're saving this, because this ends up being an entire new layer, or I can apply this layer mask. That means I can remove the entire area according to this layer mask after I've done with my selection. I can do that by right clicking on the layer mask and clicking on apply layer mask. Now when I do that, the layer mask would by itself get deleted, and the area according to the layer mask will get selected and deleted from the original image as well. So if I do that, you will see that now this layer has been grayed out, or we can see that by clicking on removing the layer underneath it and seeing the checkerboard pattern right over here. At this point, I do realize that there was something that was missing over here. Now let's undo that a couple of times. Let's get the layer back, at least for now, and paint whatever was pending over here. And that's basically how you use layer mask.